Support Name Explain on Patreon for ad-free videos, exclusive podcasts and blog posts, and to help choose what names get explained. Click the link in the description. We are no strangers to incredibly long place names here at Name Explain. A while ago we made a video about a certain village in Wales with a certain name. In that video we also briefly mentioned a hill in New Zealand with a massive name too. Together these two names are the first and second longest single word place names on our planet. Good things tend to come in threes however, so today we are going to be looking into the bronze medalists in the world of single word long place names. And while coming in bronze is no small feat unto itself, it's only bronze on the world stage. In its home nation, this name takes home gold, with that home nation being none other than the United States of America. So yes, today I want to talk about the longest place name in the entirety of the USA. That being none other than Lake Chaugg a gogg chaugg a gogg a gung maugg. That's probably the best I'm going to be able to do in regards to saying that name. You guys know that despite talking about names for a living, I'm not too great at saying them. I'm using this phonetic spelling of the name and the accompanying audio recording from a scouting website to figure out how to say it, so that may be right or it may be wrong. Either way, you guys get the idea. This name is long and silly and I'm too tired to try and say it correctly all the time. However, there are shorter versions of this name too, and those shorter versions I'll try and say as well. So laugh at me saying them, be angry at me saying them, do whatever it is you have to do. Before we actually look into that name however, is there anything of note about the actual lake itself other than its name? Well, it certainly looks pretty, that's for sure. This lake is located in the state of Massachusetts, way down in the south of the state, located very closely to the Connecticut border. This means that this is a lake of New England. Unlike many of the famous New England lakes, it seems to be a thriving tourist destination. These huge American lakes always blow my mind. To most British people, a small circle of water with ducks floating about in it is what usually comes to mind when we think of lakes. But just how big is this lake exactly? Well, to appease all you stat junkies, I know you're out there. This lake has a surface area of 1,442 acres, which is larger than the core city of London. It's also 1.125 miles at its widest and 3.25 miles at its longest. At its deepest, however, it's just 13 feet. One source pointed out this means it actually has more G's in its name than it does feet of depth, with the name containing no less than 15 G's. That's more G's than the average astronaut experiences during a rocket launch. Anyway, I have no doubt that this lake would be a beloved part of Massachusetts / the USA even if it didn't have that name. However, thanks to this long name, the longest name in the USA, it has brought worldwide attention upon it, including people like myself in the United Kingdom talking about it on a YouTube video. Though despite how long this name is, it wasn't actually always this long. The earliest recordings we have of this name come from the 17th century and is simply Lake Chaugg. Like I said, I'm just going to try and pronounce that. It's there on the screen if you want to try it yourself. Which is very similar to the modern long name but way shorter. Also, some sources say it ends with 2 G's instead of 1. My bad. This name is believed to be of Loup origin, with Loup being a now extinct Algonquin language. Many signs around the lake declare it the home of the Nipmuc people, so it would have been older Nipmuc people who gave the lake this name. What does this name even mean, however? Well, the most popular idea is that it means a fishing place at the boundary, which makes a lot of sense, as it's a lake so you can fish there, and it's very close to the border of Connecticut, which could be the boundary the name is referring to. Though while that's the most popular idea for the name, it's not the only idea as to what the name means. Another idea is that the name actually more closely translates into meaning lake divided by islands. This name makes a lot of sense too, as there are actually a selection of islands within the lake. While these island names aren't as long as the lake's name itself, they are still pretty fun. To highlight some of these islands, we have Long Island, Strip Island, Cobble Island, Goat Island, and even one island with a different name depending on what map you're looking at. Some maps label it as Skunk Island, while others label it as Misery Island. Whichever is correct is definitely not the most upbeat of names. There are other older names for this lake however, though these alternate names do not stray too far from the aforementioned short one. By and large they are just different spellings. However, over the years the name would start to get longer and longer. A 1795 map of the lake gives us an 8-syllable name for the lake. It seems that the name would reach new heights however in the 20th century. Despite being a Native American name, outside influences actually made this name grow. The longer name we are all familiar with now relates directly to European settlement on the motherland. The Europeans in this case being the English, of course. This part of the USA is called New England after all. The area of North America that would become New England was settled during the 17th and 18th century, though despite this it seems this name came into being much later. Some sources point to 1921 being the year in which this long name became cemented. Not only do we have a supposed exact year in which the name was born, but we also have a name for its supposed creator, that being one Lawrence J. Daly. Lawrence was the editor of a local newspaper at the time, and he is credited with not only creating this name, but also explaining what this longer name means. He declared that this longer version of the name translates into meaning, "You fish on your side, I'll fish on my side, and no one shall fish in the middle." The supposed story behind this name's meaning comes from an agreement between the Nipmuc people and the English settlers. The story goes that all the fish in this lake stayed mainly in the middle, and both sides wanted to fish there. Both sides competed to fish in the center of the lake, which of course meant things would get a little out of hand. So both parties decided that neither of them would fish in the middle, and they would just stick to their own sides, as the name explains to us. This is definitely a fun, interesting story which explains how this name came about. However, like most etymologies that are fun and worth sharing with other people, it most likely is not true. Another local writer named Ed Pattermow wrote in 2001 that he actually knew Lawrence J. Daly and had heard directly from him that he made up that meaning for fun. Whether he made up the long name entirely, however, we don't seem to be too certain. Though despite this, the "you fish on your side" etymology has gained a huge amount of traction. Many sources point to this being the official meaning of the name. Wikipedia itself even goes with this one, but then its sources say that this isn't the case, hence why you should never trust fully Wikipedia, though by and large it's good stuff. There are even comments on YouTube videos I used with pronunciation reference for this video that say they heard this etymology from their grandparents. It's one of those well and truly ingrained folk etymologies that consistently do the rounds. But if this isn't what this long name means, then what does it mean? Well, the more believed idea is that this name means English knifemen and Nipmuc Indians at the boundary or neutral fishing place. And what's interesting about this is it kind of has the same meaning as that folk etymology, it's just not as directly to the point, so in turn not as fun to share. One other bizarre folk etymology I came across was one in which an English settler spotted a Native American fall off his canoe and swim back to the shore. When the native arrived at the lake shore, the settler asked him what the lake was called, and while trying to catch his breath, the native let out a flurry of gasping mumbling sounds, and it was these sounds that created the name we have today. That etymology is of course a load of rubbish, but a fun story nonetheless. Whatever the case may be, this silly long name is here now, and like we've seen with other long names from around the world, the locals in the wider world have really taken a shine to it. People come to visit to get a photo of the huge signs with the name on it. This of course meant a boost in popularity in the local area too, so it's quite alarming when there were plans by the US government in the 1950s to officially shorten the lake's name. This plan was met with a huge amount of backlash from the local community, as they loved just how long and silly the lake's name was and didn't want it to change. One resident by the name of Bertha A. Joslin took some incredibly extreme action in making sure the name didn't change. She wrote a poem about it. Like I said, it was a pretty extreme and wild action. It seems to have done the trick, as the name was not changed and has not been changed to this day. In fact, this isn't the only time the lake has appeared in musical form. There have been 3 whole songs written about the lake. While 3 isn't the most amount of songs granted, it's 3 more songs than an awful lot of other lakes have written about them. Wikipedia even tells me it's referenced in an episode of Gilmore Girls. Most other lakes can't quite claim it, would seem. Though while this may be the lake's official name, unfortunately it seems like many instead use a different name for it, that being Lake Webster. Multiple sources say that this lake is more commonly referred to simply as Lake Webster, as opposed to chaugg, maugg, gogg, gung, maugg. I imagine this is simply because it's way easier to say. This name comes from the fact that the town the lake is nearest to is called Webster, and this town is named after Daniel Webster, a prominent 19th century lawyer and former US Secretary of State who was local to the area. So call it either Webster or Char, gogg, maugg, gung, maugg, as both are correct, despite how different they may seem. Though while we all agree on these 2 names, something that doesn't seem to be as agreed upon is how you spell this ginormous name. This is a name composed of 45 letters, so I understand why people may get it wrong. Officially it's spelt CHAUGGAMAUGGCHAUGGCHAUBUNAGUNGAMAUGG. While it's easy enough for me to read that off a script, some makers around the local area found this difficult. The name was spelled differently across different sites for the longest time. It was in only 2009, just over 10 years ago, in which all the signs were changed to have the correct spelling, so hopefully now you should find this name spelled correctly on all signs around it. And despite how long and ridiculous it is, and the many attempts people have had at trying to change it, the name of chaugg, gogg, chaugg, gogg, gung, maugg looks like it's here to stay. Lake chaugg, gogg, chaugg, gogg, gung, maugg was suggested by John Bastion, and thanks to their suggestion, they will now be honoured as Name Explain's patron saint of Lake chaugg, gogg, chaugg, gogg, gung, maugg. Do you have a good idea for somewhere that's name could be covered in a Name Explain video? If so, then please consider donating on Patreon. Just $1 a month helps keep the channel running and earns you a weekly chance to suggest somewhere to be turned into a video, and you too could be a Name Explain Patreon saint. Thank you to all my patrons who support Name Explain on a monthly basis. Patreon is vital to Name Explain, and donating just $2 a month allows you to enjoy ad-free videos and bonus Patreon exclusive content. It also allows you to help choose what names get explained in upcoming videos, and gets your name here with all these awesome people. Thank you so much for all the support you guys give Name Explain. Thank you so much for reaching the end of the video. Check out another video and subscribe to stay in the loop on all things Name Explain. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram where I'm NameExplainYT, and also join the Facebook group Friends of Name Explain, both of which will be linked down below. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and once again, thank you all so much.